Ladies and gentlemen, the death of Raila Amolo Odinga has complicated the 2027 equation for William Ruto in a very big way. William Ruto was banking on the support of ODM party, and Raila was the ODM party. And it now makes sense to me, this particular statement which William Ruto made during the burial of Raila Amolo Odinga.
Kwa hivyo wana ODM, ile kitu mimi nataka niwahakikishie kwa mapenzi ya Mungu, ODM will either form the next government or be part of the next government. Ile kitu siwezi kukubali. Ile kitu kwa heshima ya huyu shujaa wetu, ile kitu siwezi kukubali, na nitafanya juu chini, Mungu anisaidie. Ni wale ambao wanataka kung'oa chama ya ODM na kwenda kuchezea karata ya upinzani kule nje. Hiyo haitawezekana.
And as things stand today, the current leadership of ODM party are making some grave mistakes which will definitely affect William Ruto in a very big way. They are likely to cost William Ruto his second term unless something radical happens.
Our relationship with our broad-based partners, UDA, the Central Committee noted with concern. UDA party. The Central Committee noted with concern the goings on and the unwarranted public utterances by some senior officials of the UDA party aimed at causing anxiety and disquiet among our members. As a party that believes in its principles, ideology, and the foundation on which it was founded, we demand respect from the UDA party.
Because there's something which I've always stated here, that William Ruto's game plan for 2027 was very simple and direct. William Ruto was banking on the support of ODM party following the departure of Mount Kenya, and he was also hoping of winning the support of Northern Kenya and of course consolidating Rift Valley. But ODM leadership, as we speak today, are the biggest impediment to William Ruto as far as his bid for second term is concerned.
Wengine nimeona wanaongea mingi, wanasema ya kwamba hapa chini watu basi, kama mkilete mchezo sisi pia tutalete presidential candidate, watu wakutane kwa kiwanja. Usicheze na sisi bana, na usitishe ODM, usitishe ODM. Kama kuna viongozi wako katika viti, sehemu za ODM zinajulikana. Kuna wengine hata tukiwachilia nafasi wasimame na mtu ya ODM atashinda yeye, niko na hakika. So tafadhali, hizi vyama ambayo wanakuja kuongea na sisi, tukae na heshima na uheshimu ODM. ODM ni chama kubwa.
In this video, I want to reveal to you guys the 5 mistakes which the ODM leadership, the current ODM leadership, are making and which are likely to cost William Ruto in 2027. Before we do that, in case you're watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click the subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support. Ladies and gentlemen, the first mistake the current ODM leadership is making or has made is mishandling the Odinga transition.
This is an ODM zone. Na hatutaki madarau. And you can see we are quiet. As the national chairman of the ODM party, I also want to make it very clear that this Homa Bay County and this entire region is an ODM zone. It is an ODM zone. And the next time I see what I saw at the funeral of Koyo, where my party leader is seated and some people have come there shouting UDA, we will not agree, we will not accept, it will not happen. It will not happen.
When Odinga died, Odinga was appointed as the acting party leader. And I remember opining on this platform that was the best move ODM party made at that particular time. But a lot of things changed along the way. And if I were part of their team, I would have discouraged them from confirming Oburu Odinga. Oburu Odinga would have remained interim so that nobody would have claimed that he was being imposed on them. Because remember, the person who read the resolution appointing Oburu Odinga was none other than Edwin Sifuna. And Edwin Sifuna even made a vow never to betray Oburu Odinga. But as we speak, he is the one leading the charge against Oburu Odinga. Why?
Mimi nataka niwahakikishie wanachama wote wa ODM, nilivyosema katika mazishi ya baba, mimi Sifuna nitafanya kila lililoko katika uwezo wangu kuhakikisha kwamba chama hiki kinasalia pamoja na kinaweza kudumu hata zaidi ya miaka 20 mingine ambayo tunasherehekea.
It's because how these guys mishandled that succession. Ladies and gentlemen, the second reason why these guys are likely to cost William Ruto is endorsing TUTAM early, even before onboarding members. Granted, ODM did not just find itself with William Ruto. ODM was taken to William Ruto by Raila Odinga. And the truth is, even by the time Raila Odinga was dying, most of his supporters were still outside. So the truth is, Raila Odinga entered into broad-based government, but he left his supporters. What I would have expected the current leadership to do was to, first of all, consolidate ODM party after the death of Raila Odinga. Then agree either one term or two term. And of course, Raila probably would have supported two term, but Raila was very smart on his statements, but he knew that majority of his supporters had not embraced it. So the idea of endorsing William Ruto early enough was a big mistake.
If we feel that we were given a raw deal that we have not worked well at the end of our arrangement, this broad-based government, then we have options to talk to other people. We have not tied ourselves and our hands to an arrangement which now makes it impossible for our party to talk to anybody else in case we are not in agreement with the implementation.
They ought, in my view, to have studied and then used the opportunity to persuade their supporters that, as a party, we are going to support Ruto. But you see, what they were doing was that after Raila Odinga passed on the burial day, they started singing TUTAM. Then it became very difficult for those who are opposed to TUTAM to accept. And that's why even the idea that, they were selling the party came up, because it was too early.
Raila left us in a broad-based arrangement. And this broad-based arrangement was up to 2027. We are going to continue in this broad-based arrangement, and we are going to work together with President Ruto, and we are going to negotiate as we go forward, as we get into the next stage now after 2027.
On the same note, instead of endorsing TUTAM, ODM party would have left the options open. For example, they would have said that we are running for the presidency. Then compete, have someone there. Then at the right time, maybe negotiate now for the running mate. Tell Ruto, we have a presidential candidate, but of course, because we don't have a chance, we are going to support you. But it was premature. Number 3, and I think this is the most critical one. The current ODM leadership failed to plan for the future without Raila Odinga. Of course, nobody was prepared for the death of Raila Odinga. If you ask most Raila Odinga supporters, including myself, and I would tell you that we expected Raila Odinga to be alive until maybe after the next election. Then Raila Odinga, who was the leader, passed on. What are they planning for the future? Not coming up. Some we are supporting Ruto, some we are not supporting Ruto, some, we are going to run for the presidency in 2027. They needed to make that very clear. That's how you persuade people to follow you. They failed on that. And number 4, and this is the current mistake, miscalculating the 2027 zoning arithmetic. You see, ODM has decided, the Oburu group, when I talk of ODM, I'm talking of the Oburu group, because Sifuna has already dumped ODM party. Sifuna's brother has a political party, who registered. Of course, you also saw Caleb Amisi with another political party. But ODM is saying, we want to zone. For me, that's miscalculation. Because for ODM party, they need the numbers. What about William Ruto? William Ruto also needs the numbers. But which numbers? William Ruto needs the presidential numbers. For ODM, they need the gubernatorial, senatorial, maybe MCS and MPs. Those are 2 different levels. So if you insist on zoning and you convince Ruto not to allow UDA to contest, let's say you say a place like Busia, you ODM, Kisu, Nyanza, Luo Nyanza, ODM, specific regions, that will affect William Ruto because UDA also has members. Let me just give you a typical example. In Mombasa, in the last election, Hassan Omar contested against Abdul Samad Nasser. The margin was not very huge. But today, if, for example, because of zoning, you say Mombasa is being zoned for ODM, where do you take Hassan Omar supporters, for example? So it's something which will require serious thinking over how to deal with it. Because if mismanaged, I can assure you, as much as UDA is not in Nyanza, as much as they are probably not in the coastal region as such, but their supporters are going to go on a slow. And that would affect Ruto. Not them. For the MPs, they're okay. For ODM, once they achieve whatever they want, they'll be okay. But for William Ruto, he needs the presidential votes. He needs someone getting into the poll to vote for ODM, also to vote for him. And importantly, there is serious post-Ruto politics in ODM party. Gladys Wanga wants to become president. Mbadi wants to become president. Joho wants to become president. Oparanya wants to become president. Simbarati wants to become president after Ruto. So at the end of the day, all these guys will be undermining each other. And that's how William Ruto will easily win. And let me add you a bonus. The youth. If there's one thing the current ODM leadership have failed on, is the involvement of the youth in their activities. You don't see any effort to persuade the agencies to join the movement. And that's why most of these agencies are now associating themselves more with Sifuna and Bobo. As we speak, James Orengo brought TikTokers from Nairobi to Siaya. And moving forward, we will start getting favorable comments from Kenyans online. The current leadership tell me anytime, apart from seeing Oburu Odinga with Wekamawe with that lady, anytime they've engaged with the young people. In their press statements today, they indicated that they want to start meeting with the ODM youths. Which youths? ODM Youth League just needs an election. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what you think, but I think William Ruto, if he were to lose, he will lose because of ODM party. Sometimes I even wonder who convinced him to dump Rigathi for the ODM votes. Until next time, this is Makwiny. Bye-bye.